The kingdom of God is not a backpack you throw over your shoulder. It is not something you carry into your life. It is something that carries your life. Once you let the old one go, you don't fit it in between your plans, your grudges, and your little indulgences. You trade your world for it, because the kingdom is not an addition. It's a replacement. You can't step into a new world with the footprints of the old one still on your soul. We all try, dragging resentment by the hand, tucking pride into our coat, smuggling bitterness in our hearts like it won't be noticed at the gate, but the kingdom is not fooled. It was never meant for the version of you that insists on carrying everything. It was made for the you that's been emptied and remade. There is no such thing as private baggage in a kingdom built on light. The gate is narrow, and what won't bend must break. The more tightly you hold to it, the more loudly heaven whispers, lay it down. Some burdens aren't heavy, they're just stubborn, and the tragedy is, we've worn them so long we think they're part of us. We say, it's just how I am, but the kingdom replies, it's how you were, until you lay it down. There comes a time when the weight we carry becomes the reason we can't move. And yet, we keep walking, dragging approval addiction, dragging shame in silence, dragging a version of ourselves that God has already called dead. And wondering why we feel stuck. Lay down your weapons, or the war will never end. Not all battles are meant to be won. Some are meant to be surrendered, because the kingdom doesn't ask for your strength. It asks for your surrender. The lie says, if you lay it down, you'll lose everything. But the truth is, if you don't, you'll never receive anything real. What you refuse to release becomes the idol that replaces God. What you clutch in fear becomes the chain that keeps you from freedom. The kingdom is not a dream you believe. It's a road you walk. And the road gets narrower the further you go. There are thresholds you cannot pass until you leave something behind. Some attitudes, some relationships, some wounds, even some dreams. And sometimes what you must lay down is not your weakness, but your strength, your need to control, your desire to be right, your hunger to be seen. These are not sins on paper, but they're heavy in the spirit, and they do not float in the waters of rebirth. You can't step into heaven with fists closed. The kingdom is not seized, it is received. And only open hands can receive. So here's the hard truth, spoken in love. What you refuse to lay down will keep you outside the kingdom, even while you're standing right next to it. Because God will never force surrender. He only invites it. The door is open, but your baggage won't fit. So today, the question isn't how do I enter the kingdom? It's what am I still holding that won't let me in? The kingdom is ready. But are you willing to be empty-handed? Because on this path, less is not loss. It's the price of entry. The kingdom of God does not sit beside your life. It replaces it. It is not one more thing you manage. It's not a Sunday thing. It's not a checkbox beside career, marriage, and success. It is the thing that reorders all things. You cannot sprinkle the kingdom over your habits like salt on bland food. You cannot season your old life with truth and call it transformation. The kingdom is not a supplement. It is a surrender. We have been trained to manage God like a schedule, fit him in and check him off. But the kingdom refuses to be scheduled. It demands priority, not proximity. God is not asking to be part of your life. He's asking to be your life. You can't crown a king and still hold the throne yourself. We want the benefits of the kingdom without the displacement of self. But the kingdom doesn't come to consult you. It comes to reign, and that means the current ruler. You must step down. You cannot have resurrection while clinging to the corpse of your old ways. The kingdom begins where the old self ends. And until that death happens, no real life starts, because the gospel isn't self-improvement, it's self-replacement. Jesus didn't die to upgrade you. He died to exchange you. The kingdom doesn't decorate graves. It rolls stones away. But to walk out, you have to leave the wrappings behind. Many are exhausted, not because they're weak, but because they're trying to live two lives, one surrendered, one stubborn, one hand lifted in worship, one hand still grasping control, but the kingdom won't bless what it's not allowed to govern. There is no such thing as a kingdom compartment. Either it takes over or it's not really there. There is no middle road. No shared custody between the spirit and the flesh. The kingdom does not renovate, it demolishes and rebuilds. It does not ask permission to move walls. It tears them down and lays a new foundation. That foundation is not based on your preferences, your feelings, or your timing. It is based on the king, and kings don't negotiate. The kingdom is not customized. It is consecrated. It will not be edited to fit your comfort. It will not conform to your wounds, your background, or your ambitions. It's not here to fit you. It's here to form you. God does not bless a divided house. He burns it to build a better one. So if everything feels like it's falling apart, maybe it is, maybe that's mercy, maybe what you're calling chaos is actually construction. We keep asking God to join us, while He's asking us to leave our way, our entitlement, our addiction to being right. Our comfort zones dressed in religion. The kingdom will never be an accessory. It will always be an exchange. You can't just wear it like a cross around your neck. It's not jewelry, it's a cross, and a cross isn't for display, it's for death. The invitation to the kingdom always sounds like this: come and die, not physically, but internally. Die to pride, die to performance, die to needing to control everything and everyone, and only after death, life. The moment you try to keep both, you lose both, because double-minded hearts receive nothing from God. The kingdom is not divided, and neither can you be. This is why so many are near the kingdom, but not in it, because they added it, but never yielded to it. They sprinkled it, but never swallowed it whole. They claimed it, but never let it claim them. The kingdom doesn't fit in your pocket. It takes your whole heart. It doesn't coexist with the old man. It replaces him. It rewrites the story, not just the script. It doesn't ask for a chapter. It demands the whole book. You don't make room for the kingdom. You clear the room. Clear the stage of self-importance. Clear the table of compromise. Clear the shelf of idols you labeled as needs. You can't invite the fire of heaven and still protect what should burn. So let it burn. Let the fake identities burn. Let the self-glory burn. Let the half-truths burn, because on the other side of the ashes is the kingdom. If the kingdom replaces you, then what belongs to the old you must be left behind. The problem is never access. The problem is always baggage. Heaven is not hard to enter, it's hard to enter with what we refuse to drop. You can't carry betrayal into a land built on trust. You can't carry pride into a throne room where only one sits high. You can't carry comparison where identity has already been sealed. The old self is clever. It hides its weight in the shape of personality. We say, that's just how I am, but the kingdom answers, that's what I came to crucify. There is no such thing as sacred baggage. Even the wounds you've nursed for years, even the identity you built from rejection, even the titles and trophies you earned in your own strength, if it was born in the flesh, it can't pass through the Spirit's gate. Some people miss the kingdom not because they ran from God, but because they brought too much with them. They brought resentment, they brought entitlement, they brought secret envy covered in religious language. And the gate shut quietly, not out of punishment but purity. The kingdom is weightless, but it is not careless. Only what's been refined can walk in. Only what's been surrendered can survive the light. There is no cloak dark enough to cover your hidden attachments at heaven's door. The gate scans motives, not resumes, not credentials, not titles, motives. If you can't let go of it, then it owns you, and nothing owns you in the kingdom except the king. You can't hide bitterness in your pocket and expect heaven to ignore the smell. Bitterness rots, even when dressed in silence, even when prayed over, even when spiritualized. If it's still there, it will choke the kingdom seed before it sprouts. Unforgiveness is not a wound, it's a weapon you turn against yourself. And weapons are forbidden in the kingdom. You don't enter with clenched fists. You don't enter with old scores in your heart. You don't enter with what they did on repeat in your memory. Some of us are more loyal to our trauma than to our transformation. We speak of healing, but build homes around our hurt. We decorate our pain. We defend our offense, and then wonder why the gate won't open. God is not asking you to deny your pain. He's asking you to release it. He's not asking you to pretend it didn't happen. He's asking you to stop worshiping it, because anything you defend more than your deliverance is your idol. The kingdom will not compete for space in your heart. You make room, or it moves on, it waits, it watches, but it will never be one voice among many. It will be Lord or nothing. Some are stuck at the gate because they're still trying to negotiate what stays. We say, can I just keep this one thing? Just the money I earned dishonestly, just the relationship that feeds my flesh, just this one version of myself that makes me feel powerful. And heaven answers gently, but firmly, no. You cannot carry offense through a gate made of mercy. You cannot wear masks in a kingdom that thrives on truth. You cannot fake freedom while protecting the chains that bind you. The gate doesn't block you, the weight does, and the gate doesn't move, you do. You either shed the weight, or you stay outside. Every time you say, I'm not ready to let go, you're saying, I'm not ready to enter. Every delay is a choice. Every excuse is a lock on the gate you claim to want open. The kingdom has no problem with who you were, but it has no room for what you still carry. The issue is not your past. The issue is your attachment to it, the grip, the identity, the sense of control. That must go. This is why transformation hurts. It requires release, and not just release of sin, but release of self, release of stories you told yourself, release of dreams God never authored, release of voices God never sent. You can't wear grave clothes in a place built for resurrection. And resurrection is not partial, it is total. It is new birth, not new behavior. So if the gate feels closed, check your hands. Are they holding proof? Are they holding control? Are they holding what God already asked for? Because the gate opens only for the empty. What you refuse to lay down, life will eventually lay down for you. You can surrender it. Or watch it be stripped. You can place it on the altar, or watch it rot in your hands. There is no neutral ground between freedom and control, only delay. And delay is costly, because the longer you carry what God called you to release, the more damage it causes to you and to everyone around you. You were never designed to carry forever what God asked you to carry to the cross. But still we hold it, the hurt, the spotlight, the secret, the persona. We cling, thinking we are protecting it, but it's not protected, it's poisoned. Lay it down while it's still your decision, because eventually it becomes your consequence. People say time heals. But time only exposes, it reveals whether you buried it at the altar or buried it alive inside you. The kingdom does not crash into your life, it waits for your consent. It knocks, it never forces, but your refusal becomes your resistance. And resistance becomes rebellion. There are weights God asked for years ago, and you're still negotiating terms, still telling him, not yet, still saying, it's not that bad, still making excuses for what he already called sin, still defending dysfunction with eloquence, but heaven isn't moved by your explanation. It's waiting for your surrender. At some point, disobedience becomes not just a mistake, but a mindset. You stop hearing conviction. You stop recognizing truth. You start calling your preferences peace. And then you wonder why God feels distant. Some people aren't under spiritual attack, they're under spiritual consequence, not because God is punishing. But because gravity always wins, if you jump with pride, you fall with it. If you plant rebellion, you harvest regret. If you carry idols, they eventually crush you. What God asks you to lay down, He's not trying to rob you of joy. He's trying to return it. He's trying to free your hands so He can fill them. But if you grip the counterfeit, you miss the kingdom. There are things God must break, not because He hates you, but because He loves you too much to let them stay. Sometimes the heartbreak was mercy. Sometimes the exposure was grace. Sometimes the ending was your exodus. You prayed for freedom, and then cursed the door when it opened through fire. He will break it now, or life will break you with it later. It's not punishment. It's process, and the quicker you lay it down, the shorter the pain. The longer you hold it, the deeper the wound. Surrender is not loss, it's wisdom, because keeping what kills you is not strength. It's self-sabotage in disguise. You cannot outrun the thing God told you to lay down. It will show up in your relationships, in your decisions, in your sleep, in your silence, in your worship, and it will eat away at your capacity to love, to lead, to live. The burden you carry will either become your testimony or your tomb. It's the same weight. The only difference is what you do with it. There's no glory in dying with what you were supposed to release. No legacy in hiding it well. No reward in dragging it through your whole life as proof of your endurance. God never asked for your strength. He asked for your yes. When you don't lay it down, it becomes an idol you die protecting. Some people will guard bitterness with more devotion than they give to the gospel. They'll protect dysfunction like it's sacred, because it's familiar, because it's theirs, because it gave them a story. But the kingdom doesn't honor stories built on chains. God doesn't just want your worship. He wants your weight, and not just your praise on Sunday, but your burdens on Monday. He wants the secrets, the grudges, the self-importance, the approval addiction, not to shame you, but to free you. Either it dies now at the altar, or it will die slowly in your soul. One brings resurrection. The other brings erosion. One leaves you lighter, the other leaves you bitter. So if it hurts to let go, good. That means you're cutting a real cord. That means it's not just performance, it's transformation. You cannot be full of the kingdom if you are full of yourself. And if God keeps putting His finger on the same issue, it's not because He forgot. It's because you did. You forgot what you promised. You forgot what He said. You forgot that the gate only opens when you lay it all down. You didn't lay it all down just to stand still. Surrender is not the end of movement. It's the beginning of a different kind. The kingdom doesn't just wait at the altar. It leads you into a life you've never walked before. The kingdom is not a belief system. It's a way of being. You don't just agree with it. You walk it. You breathe it. You embody it. Truth is not proven by what you say. It's revealed by how you walk. The kingdom is terrain, not theory. It has shape. It has resistance. It has tests. You don't study the kingdom like a scholar. You live it like a pilgrim. You learn it by walking through it. Step by step, test by test, letting the path shape what your pride would never admit. Some people love the idea of the kingdom, but not the gravity of it. They quote it. They sing about it. They post scriptures about it. But the moment it pulls them off their throne, they back away because walking in it costs something. The kingdom is not a conference high. It's a wilderness rhythm. You don't measure it by emotions. You measure it by obedience, not how high you raised your hands, but how low you bowed your will. You can't just stand near the kingdom. You have to move in it. And movement means friction, because this terrain is uphill. And the gravity of grace pulls you away from your old defaults. Your spiritual life will never outgrow your daily steps. You can't walk in the kingdom once a week. You can't walk in it only when it's easy. You can't claim kingdom truth and keep worldly patterns. The terrain reveals what belief can only pretend. You say you trust. Let's see it when God is silent. You say you forgive. Let's see it when they do it again. You say you surrender. Let's see it when your plans fall apart. In the kingdom, belief is not the finish line, it's the starting point. Faith is not the goal, it's the fuel, and it's tested on roads paved with sacrifice, not comfort. You can't keep kingdom pace while dragging worldly weight. Every mile demands a deeper release. Every step exposes the things you forgot you were carrying, pride you didn't notice, fear you baptized, bitterness that found a new voice in your silence. The path is narrow not because God is cruel, but because freedom requires focus. There's no space for extras, no room for double vision, no margin for half-hearted yeses. The terrain trims what theory tries to hide. You don't walk the kingdom to impress God. You walk it to become who you really are. The terrain reveals the real you, the hidden you, the one not dressed for Sunday, the one still learning to trust when nothing makes sense. On kingdom ground, every step is a seed. You plant through perseverance, you water through prayer, you grow through pressure, and God shapes your roots beneath the surface before he reveals your fruit. You cannot be transformed by truth you refuse to walk in. Knowledge without obedience is just spiritual noise. Insight without movement is deception with a Bible verse. The terrain of the kingdom is not about perfection, it's about progression. Not every step is smooth. Not every day is loud, but every decision matters. Every act of obedience builds momentum. The road doesn't always glow, but it always goes somewhere. Even when it's quiet, you're still growing. Even when it's dry, you're still being shaped. Even when it hurts, the terrain is working for you. The kingdom is not instant. It's inherited by the ones who don't quit, those who keep walking, those who keep forgiving, those who keep showing up even when it costs. It's not about how fast you walk, it's about what you carry while walking. Do you carry humility? Do you carry repentance? Do you carry truth that makes you uncomfortable? Because the terrain has a way of purging what doesn't belong. And some will stop walking because the road revealed a version of themselves they didn't want to face. That's why some fall away, not because the kingdom failed, but because the terrain exposed the parts they refused to surrender. You don't enter the kingdom once. You keep walking deeper into it, deeper into love, deeper into correction, deeper into joy not based on feelings, deeper into peace that outlasts circumstances. This path was never meant to flatter you. It was meant to form you. So if it feels uncomfortable, you're probably walking it right. So if it feels uncomfortable, you're probably walking it right. Now we step into the heart of the journey, desire, where many stumble, written in the same voiceover style, grounded, connected, and realistically soul-piercing. The road reveals not only your strength, but your desire, not just what you believe, but what you crave, not just what you say yes to, but what your soul whispers for when no one's watching. Desire is not the enemy, but it is the test. What you want becomes the lens through which you see the kingdom, and if that lens is dirty, even God's voice can sound like a threat. Some desires lead you into glory, others drag you into compromise. Desire is holy when it bows. It becomes heavy when it reigns. What you crave more than God is the thing that controls your life. You can name it purpose. You can baptize it with scriptures. You can call it calling. But if it didn't come from surrender, it will break you before it blesses you. Desire is dangerous when it's undisciplined. Left unchecked, it creates illusions. It turns infatuation into destiny. It turns ego into identity. It turns comfort into calling. The enemy doesn't need to destroy your desire. He just needs to distort it. He doesn't need to make you evil. He just needs to make you busy chasing what looks right but feels heavy, what shines but doesn't sanctify, what pleases but never purifies. You can want the right thing the wrong way. You can want love, but chase validation. You can want purpose, but chase applause. You can want connection, but stay addicted to performance. God is not against your desires. He's against what they become without him. Desire without pruning becomes obsession. Desire without holiness becomes idolatry. Desire without patience becomes manipulation. There are things you want so badly, you forgot to ask if heaven sent them. You didn't pray, you assumed, you ran. You chased the open door without checking the architect. Not every good thing is a God thing. Not every opportunity is obedience. Not every offer is an assignment. Not every yes is holy. And not every breakthrough is blessed. Some of the heaviest things we carry are not sins. They're desires we refused to surrender, desires we called needs, desires we justified with trauma, desires we protected with excuses. The terrain of the kingdom won't carry what you won't crucify, so the path starts feeling hard. Not because you're in the wrong place, but because you're dragging something God never gave you permission to bring. You prayed for elevation, but refused examination. You asked for more, while holding a heart too full of self to carry it. You asked for doors, while still negotiating which part of you would go through. God does not answer desire with indulgence. He answers it with fire. He purifies it. He strips it. He slows it down until it's reborn in surrender. Not for control, but for clarity. The kingdom never bows to desire. It reshapes it. It takes what you think you need and teaches you to crave differently. It rewrites hunger. It redirects fire. It replaces chasing with resting. Many grow weary not because they're off course, but because they're carrying unrefined desire like it's permission. They assumed timing because they felt urgency. They assumed anointing because they had passion. They assumed favor because doors opened. But the terrain always exposes what heaven didn't sign off. Sometimes unanswered prayers are God's protection against a desire that would destroy you. Sometimes the delay is the mercy. Sometimes the silence is the rescue. Sometimes the closed door is love dressed as discipline. You will never know how holy your desire is until God says no. When He says wait, when He says let go, when He says not now or not them. And your reaction will reveal your foundation. If your desire makes you question His character, it's already an idol. If His no feels like rejection, if His wait feels like punishment, then the desire was already sitting where God was supposed to be. The kingdom doesn't exist to fulfill your every craving. It exists to shape them, to cut away the false ones, to stretch the holy ones, to remove the loud ones, to purify the quiet ones. And the beautiful irony is this: when desire is surrendered, it becomes light again. When it stops ruling, it starts rising. When it's placed on the altar, it becomes seed, not burden, and God can use what no longer owns you. Your desire is either weight or worship. It either slows you down, or it fuels the fire, but that depends on one thing: where you lay it.